Уважаемые коллеги, добрый день. Попросил вас сегодня собраться для того, чтобы проинформировать о том, как идет переговорный процесс по украинскому кризису, как идут переговоры в двухстороннем формате с украинской делегацией. Так или иначе, многие из присутствующих знают, разумеется, в общих чертах, но расскажу поподробнее. Это первое. И второе, рассказать о том, на каком этапе мы находимся с американской администрацией сегодняшней, которая, как всем хорошо известно, предпринимает, на мой взгляд, достаточно энергичные и искренние усилия для того, чтобы прекратить боевые действия, прекратить кризис и выйти на договоренности, представляющие интерес для всех вовлеченных в этот конфликт сторон, для того, чтобы создать долгосрочные условия мира и между нашими странами, и в Европе, да и в мире в целом, если мы к следующим этапам выйдем на договоренности в области контроля над стратегическими наступательными вооружениями. Это то, что хотел сказать в начале.
President Putin visited Magadan Oblast on his way to the Alaska summit and laid flowers at the monument to the heroes of Olshib. Olshib is a word that connects Alaska and Siberia. This monument is dedicated to the memory of the pilots who flew the Alaska-Siberia air route during World War II. It was an air route used to transport fighter planes and bombers from the United States to the Soviet Union. Depicting the moment when Soviet and American pilots shake hands against the backdrop of vertically positioned aircraft wings, this image celebrates the history of cooperation between the two countries.
What will make a success of this summit today?
I can't tell you that. I don't know. There's nothing set in stone. I want certain things. I want to see a ceasefire. This is not to do with Europe. Europe's not telling me what to do. But they're going to be involved in the process, obviously, as will Zelensky. But I want to see a ceasefire rapidly. I don't know if it's going to be today, but I'm not going to be happy if it's not today. Everyone said it can't be today, but I'm just saying I want the killing to stop. I'm in this to stop the killing. You know, we're not putting up any money. We're making money. They're buying our weapons, and we're sending them to NATO, and NATO's sending us big, beautiful checks. But that I don't care about that. I care about, it was a big factor when Biden spent $350 billion and got nothing. But what I do care about is they lost last week 7,011 people were lost, almost all soldiers. 36 people in a town which got hit by a missile. But over 7,000 soldiers. It's crazy.
Could you describe a little bit, Mr. President, because I know you've had a lot of phone calls with President Putin. What's the difference in a face-to-face, in-person meeting?
Look, he's a smart guy, been doing it for a long time, but so have I. Been doing it for a long time. And here we are with President. That was much more difficult than what I'm doing today, believe me. So, we get along. There's a good respect level on both sides, and I think, you know, something's going to come of it. I notice he's bringing a lot of business people from Russia, and that's good. I like that because they want to do business, but they're not doing business until we get the war settled. We have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing in from tariffs. We're the hottest. We were a dead country, dead like doornails, a dead country. 1 year ago, we were dead as a doornail. And now we have the hottest country, and he wants a piece of that because his country is not hot economically. In fact, it's the opposite. And China's not doing well economically, but look, I want everybody to do well. The war's got to stop and the killing's got to stop.
Mr. President, what do you stop? Thank you for coming back to take questions. We saw that Russia continued its violence into Ukraine last night, launching even more drones. What did you make of that?
I think they're trying to negotiate. He's trying to set a stage. I mean, in his mind, that helps him make a better deal. It actually hurts him. But in his mind, that helps him make a better deal if they can continue the killing. Maybe it's a part of the world. Maybe it's just his fabric, his genes, his genetics. But he thinks that makes him gives him strength in negotiating. I think it hurts him, but I'll be talking to him about it later.
It's on the table for discussions today, Mr. President. Are the territorial swaps on the table? Will you be discussing that?
They'll be discussed, but I've got to let Ukraine make that decision. And I think they'll make a proper decision. But I'm not here to negotiate for Ukraine. I'm here to get them at a table. And I think you have two sides. Look, Vladimir Putin wanted to take all of Ukraine. If I wasn't president, he would right now be taking all of Ukraine. But he's not going to do it.
Mr. President, what did you mean?
Just one thing. What about the possibility of the United States providing security guarantees to Ukraine?
Maybe. Along with Europe and other countries. Not in the form of NATO, because that's not going to, there are certain things that aren't going to happen. But yeah, along with Europe, there's a possibility of that.
Mr. President, mentioned the number of business people that President Putin is bringing along. Is that something that you want to discuss with President Putin at this meeting?
If we make progress, I would discuss it, because that's one of the things that they would like. They'd like to get a piece of what I built in terms of the economy. Just so you know, we were a dead country with our economy. He wouldn't be interested. He wouldn't have been interested a year ago with the Biden economy. But he is interested in the Trump economy, because wait till you see when those factories start opening up. We have hundreds of factories all over the country, and that includes auto factories, AI factories, and every other. They're all coming in because they want to beat the tariffs. Because if they open here, they don't have to pay tariffs. If they don't open here, they have to pay, in some cases, 200%, 300%. I haven't even set some of the tariffs yet. I'll be setting tariffs next week and the week after on steel and on, I would say, chips.
Mr. President?
Chips and semiconductors we'll be setting sometime next week after.
You're looking at what rate?
I'm going to have a rate that is going to be lower at the beginning. Then that gives them a chance to come in and build. And very high after a certain period of time. And if they don't build here, they have to pay a very high tariff, which doesn't work, so they'll come and build.
Mr. President, hi. You had said earlier this week that Putin would face severe consequences if you get the sense from him that he's not interested. What do you mean by that?
Economically severe. Yes, it will be very severe. I'm not doing this for my health, okay? I don't need it. I'd like to focus on our country, but I'm doing this to save a lot of lives. Yeah, very severe. Thank you very much, everybody.
On August 15, 2025, President Trump arrived at Elmendorf-Richardson Joint Base at 10:22 a.m. local time. President Putin arrived at the air base at 10:55 a.m. An T-shaped red carpet was laid out for the two presidents to walk down to a platform that was labeled Alaska 2025. There were 4 F-22 Raptor fighter jets lined up next to it, and when they were standing in front of the platform, U.S. Air Force F-22 fighter jets, F-35 fighter jets, and B-2 bombers flew overhead.
President Putin, will you agree to a ceasefire?
Mr. President, what's your message to Vladimir Putin?
Mr. Putin, did you underestimate Ukraine? President Putin, will you stop killing civilians? President Putin, how can the U.S. trust your words?
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Let's go around the
Can I have you go over?
Russia 24 reported that President Trump invited Putin to join him in the car, with Putin eschewing his planned Oris limo. The meeting was held in a three-way format between President Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and President Putin, Foreign Policy Advisor Yuri Ushakov, and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Mr. Putin, will you agree to a ceasefire?
Thank you, press.
Mr. Putin, will you commit to not killing any more civilians?
Thank you, press. Let's go. Come on, guys. Thank you, press. Let's go.
Mr. President,
Thank you, press.
President Putin, why should President Trump trust your word now after you bailed out a
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
We've got to.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America and the President of the Russian Federation.
The meeting began at 11:32 a.m. after the press corps left the room, and ended at 2:18 p.m. After that, a joint press conference was held by the two presidents.
Уважаемый господин президент, дамы и господа, наши переговоры прошли в конструктивной и взаимоуважительной атмосфере. Были весьма обстоятельными и полезными. Хотел бы еще раз поблагодарить моего американского коллегу за предложение приехать на Аляску.
Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This video shows the two presidents after the press conference, as released by the Kremlin. For the full text of the joint press conference, please watch the previous video. After this, President Trump will be interviewed, and President Putin will move to another location. President Putin laid flowers at the graves of Soviet soldiers at Fort Richardson Cemetery, located on the grounds of the Elmendorf-Richardson military base. There are 14 Soviet graves at the National Cemetery in the Allies in World War II section. The names and military ranks of 11 servicemen have been established. 9 pilots who participated in the Alaska-Siberia airlift, and 2 sailors who were in the United States to receive ships under Lend-Lease. 1 grave remains unknown, and 2 more graves are considered civilian. Many of you probably know what the ships that the U.S. provided to the Soviet Union in Alaska were used for. President Putin's stay in Alaska lasted approximately 5 hours. Escorted by U.S. military aircraft, President Putin set off on his return journey to Moscow.
Уважаемые коллеги, добрый день. Попросил вас собраться для того, чтобы проинформировать о результатах нашего визита нашей делегации в Соединенные Штаты, на Аляску. Хочу сразу отметить, что визит был своевременным и весьма полезным. Мы поговорили практически по всем направлениям нашего взаимодействия, но прежде всего, конечно, говорили о возможном разрешении украинского кризиса на справедливой основе. И, конечно, у нас была возможность, что мы сделали, поговорить о генезисе, о причинах этого кризиса. И именно устранение этих первопричин должно быть положено в основу урегулирования. Мы давно напрямую не вели переговоров подобного рода на таком уровне. Повторяю еще раз, была возможность спокойно, детально еще раз изложить нашу позицию. Мы, разумеется, с уважением относимся и к позиции американской администрации, которая видит необходимость скорейшего прекращения боевых действий. Ну и мы тоже этого бы хотели. И хотели бы перейти к решению всех вопросов мирными средствами. Разговор был очень откровенным, содержательным. И, на мой взгляд, это приближает нас к нужным решениям. Расскажу сейчас детально по всему ходу беседы. Если будут вопросы, с удовольствием на них отвечу.